Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of Intuitive Angling. Much appreciated you taking a little time to watch the video. And today we had a subscriber request to do a video on power plant lakes and how to fish power plant lakes, give you some tips and advice on that. And I fished quite a few power plant lakes across the country, so I'm going to sort of give you guys my experience with it and what has worked and what hasn't worked very well for me. But real quick, just want to remind everybody again, starting probably in about a week from now, we're going to be drawing for our monthly Bridgeford Sweet Baby Ray Jerky giveaway. And also, when we hit 55,000 subscribers, which ought to be sometime next week, we're going to have a giveaway for, again, cases of Bridgeford beef jerky, silverback sunglasses, Seaguar fishing line. All you have to do to be eligible for that drawing is to be a subscriber of the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, I'd like to invite you to subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, you're good to go on that. So much appreciated with that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this power plant lake fishing. I've had a chance to fish, probably about a dozen power plant lakes, over the course of my, fishing career so far. And there's a lot of them. Power plant lakes are funny because a lot of them have a reputation for being really, really quality fisheries, and you hear a lot of big bags being caught out of them. But at the same time, most of the power plant lakes I fish get a tremendous amount of fishing pressure, and they tend to be small on top of that. So I think one of the realities behind fishing power plant lakes is they fish small, they get a lot of pressure, and there's windows of time to catch the quality fish. And don't get me wrong, power plant lakes have good fish in them, but more than not, most people are disappointed when they go to a power plant lake. They see pictures of guys holding up giants, and they just think it's going to be, easy to catch them there, and it's the place to go to the winter because the water's warm. And more than not, I see a lot of people getting really disappointed after they get back from fishing a power plant lake. So keep that in mind before you make a decision on that. But ultimately, power plant lakes, there's some differences and there's some similarities with regular lakes that you can sort of go by. And traditionally, what you have on a power plant lake is you've got sort of a hot part of the lake and you've got a cooler part of the lake, depending upon the size of it. Some lakes have a hot side, some lakes have a cool side, some lakes have a upper end that has hot water and the lower end's got cooler water. So you got a diversity of different water temperatures throughout the year. Now, the thing about power plant lakes is they catch a lot of attention in the cold weather months. Normally from about, say November up until March, that's when most people are attracted to power plant lakes simply because the water temperature is warmer and they think the fishing is going to be a little bit better. But I've actually had some really good success on power plant lakes even in the summertime. So they can be good at any time. A lot of it is just capitalizing on the right window. For me, this has been a rule of thumb. I've got a pretty simple rule that I go by on power plant lakes. First of all, I fish most of a power plant lake just like I would a regular lake. I got, whatever, how it's laid out. If it's got points, I'll fish points. If it's got coves with laydowns, I'll fish some of that. If it's got riprap, I'll fish that. And from about the lower end of the lake to the mid part, or in other words, the part of the lake that has a little bit cooler water temperature, that's the area that I prefer to fish. I prefer to fish on the part of the power plant lake that has a little bit cooler water. Number one, it doesn't get the fishing pressure that those areas on the upper end does. And number two, I feel that there's some bigger fish on that lower end that don't get quite as finicky to catch as those ones on the upper end. Once you get closer to the upper part, or actually where the power plant, the hotter water is, that's when it gets really hit and miss. I mean, some days you can go up there and you can rip them. Other days it's a boat show and you can't do very good. A lot of it has to do with how much current they're pulling through the lake. It has to do with the sunlight conditions, a lot of different factors. I have had some success going up as far up as you can get legally and fishing any type of current up there. It seems like to me when I'm fishing around that hotter water, those fish need to be relating to some type of current breaks, little eddies, that type of stuff on the upper end. However, I don't target that. When I go to power plant lake, like I said, I normally am on the lower to mid end of the lake. technique-wise, on a power plant lake, that's the thing that separates it from a normal lake, because obviously, since the water temperatures are warmer early in the winter, later in the winter, in the middle of winter, it opens up for a little bit more of a diversity of techniques. Although for the most part, the best fishing that I've had on power plant lakes have been on a topwater, some type of a walking topwater, or a jerkbait, or an Alabama rig. It seems like to me those fish on a power plant lake, they set up to bite those 3 different type of lures. The best success that I've had on power plant lakes has been fishing jerkbaits and Alabama rigs on any secondary or main lake points on the lower to mid end of the lake. And I've had some really, really good days on topwater if you have the right conditions, like you got, low light conditions, that type of stuff, right on the bank. Those fish will get right on the bank, in like 2 foot of water, and you can catch good ones doing that. But one of the big key baits on a power plant lake for a lot of people is a big swim bait. Now, a big swim bait, in my opinion, a big swim bait, like a 6 to 8 inch swim bait, or an Alabama rig, are the 2 top lures to catch big ones on power plant lakes. It just seems like that's how those fish set up to be caught. And if you're going to go to a power plant lake and you want to catch big ones, those are the things you need to focus on. Also, on a power plant lake, a lot of the really big giant fish and the big giant bags that you see caught on power plant lakes, those fish are roaming out in the middle of the lake with shad schools. And that's why, with the advent of live scope the last couple of years, there's a lot of guys that are whacking giant bags of fish on these power plant lakes, just live scoping out in the middle of the lake. That's become one of the top techniques. They get out there, live scope the middle of the lake, throwing jerk baits and big swim baits and Alabama rigs on these individual fish, and catching big ones with that. So anyway, power plant lakes, like I said, to be honest with you guys, they're not my favorite to fish, simply because, like I said, they're small. They get a lot of fishing pressure. It's usually hard to find a place to fish. It's hard to find a place to park on a lot of them. So I would much rather fish, just a regular type of lake. But overall, if I could just give you guys my piece of advice from my own opinion on it, if there's one overriding theme, is if you go to a hot water lake, a hot water power plant lake, find the coldest water that you can find in the winter, the summer, whenever. That's just where I have done my best. I've caught my biggest fish, my biggest bags, staying away from those areas that have the really hot water with the current that goes with it. So I hope that helps, guys. Hope that helps you catch a few more fish on the power plant lakes. And again, thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all later.